Hi, Scorpios. I do apologize. I've been, running late this month. This is your homework, not homework. I'm sorry. That was the old name. This is your home light security reading for the month of April, but I'm going to push it a little bit into the next month as well. Look who came to say hi to you guys. Although he's having a fit when I picked him up to show him, because as soon as I decided to come in and do the video, Mr. Neptune came in here. So that's a good thing, technically, when the cats pop up. All right. I do apologize, like I said, for being all kinds of late. It's been one thing after another between, just between the energies, between the human residents, between what's been shifted. My cat is looking at me like I'm crazy. Anyway, so I'm going to start with what is coming at you, where we already are. Now, you guys are in the process. Wherever the sun is on the universal scale is technically the house that you are walking through. Scorpios, the sun technically is walking through Aries for you, which is your sixth house, and it's about to move into Taurus. So this is your seventh house. So this is the main core energies of what's taking place, and then everything else is kind of residing or falling into second, third, fourth, fifth. And as we move into this energy a little bit more, Spirit is automatically directing me right now to tell you, stay with your spiritual sense. Stay with your spiritual sense. Trust in yourself. Trust in your intuition and your innate talents. Scorpio, you guys are, you're the Scorpio energy. You are transformational change when you are in your element, when you are flowing properly. And I guess what they're getting at is, with the South Node being where it is and a lot of the energies that are going on, is they're saying, go with the flow here. Allow yourself to flow with your normal nature. Don't get caught up in the comfortability of the lack of the flow, or the comfortability of where you're at, because the transformation is definitely taking place, and it is who and what you are. But with a lot of the energies that are coming in is trust in that shift, trust in that change, trust in the transformation. Don't let yourself get sidewinded, is what I just heard. And I feel like it's not sidetracked. It's not sidetracked. Don't let yourself get off balance and miss the transformation. Did I get that right? Don't be holding on to, what I keep saying is, don't be holding on to the heavy either, because that is the grief, sorrow, shame, blame. Because what I'm getting is the blame or the bitterness that might keep you from moving to the next aspect, moving on to the next challenge. Don't be inflexible, is what they're saying, because you are receiving the spiritual communication, you are receiving the guidance and the necessary information, but you have to be willing to just do it, to just go out and do it, to take a chance on you, believe in you, trust in your own inner wisdom from your higher self. Okay, let me see what the cards have to say. And then I'll get into the astrology itself. What do you have to give to Scorpio to help them in the most positive way? What guidance do you have for Scorpio to help them move in the most positive of ways? Hold on one second. I put on these rings that I made earlier. They're orgone, but they're actually shutting down my energy of being able to feel what the cards are saying. So I got to pull that off. What does Scorpio need to hear? Thank you. This is Uranus. Trust in your own independence, your own individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom. Trust in your own liberation. Uranus is also ruled by Aquarius, and together the energy is kind of like, I like to say it as, when I interpret it a lot to people, I'm like, like on the 4th of July, you're going to see the fireworks, but you don't know what those fireworks are going to be. It's Aquarius energy is ready to take on City Hall, ready to step out boldly. But this isn't necessarily the same thing. This isn't stepping out boldly. This is boldly being who you already are, experiencing who you already are, letting the world see it, but more importantly, you vibe. You understand who you already are. Independent individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom, your creative nature. Believe in it. Trust in you on that deeper level for the next, well, always, but they're definitely saying for the next month and a half. Then they're giving me, because I think there's something new coming your way. They're giving me Black Moon Lilith and Mystery. Not to mention Lilith herself just, on the 14th is going to be moving into, or which might be today, is going to be moving into Taurus. Okay, right before the full moon, and this is a black moon. So this is talking about finding out who you are. The Black Moon Lilith mystery coming into exactly what I was saying with your Uranus, independence, individuality, uniqueness, freedom. I always say that Lilith is asking you where your soul fire is. Are you stepping into your soul fire? What are you breathing for? What are you here for? What did you bring yourself back to this planet to do? Are you giving yourself that right, that authority, that true essence of you to step into the new beginning? And in astrology, she's just now moving into the heart space and asking more or less if we're all being submissive or if we're being independent. So this is saying, allow that new you, the true you, to come forward. Stop hiding behind it. Sun, illuminating that truth. The spirit itself. I mean, I feel like this is a good thing. But we're going to see where the astrology also takes you, because it'll take you deeper. Third house messages. So this is the communication from your higher self. Make sure that you're listening. You trust in it. But more importantly, it's just the communication, not just that you have with the outer world, but the communication that you're having with yourself, and that's in a level of, the higher self, but that's also in a level of respecting yourself, giving yourself the self-love you deserve, like pampering yourself, communicating with what you need physically in the body as well as spiritually and soulfully. This is asking you, are you coming full circle? Are you truly communicating in a healthy way with yourself, your truths, what you need, what you desire, where you're trying to take this? Are you being reasonable? Sorry, I just put the cards away and they're screaming at me. So I'm trying to figure out which one it was that was screaming. This one. It's a grand cross in astrology. This is an astrology deck. So this is saying there's a part of you. Grand crosses are a challenging aspect. There's a part of your Scorpio transformational change that you're kind of, you have to flow down, but there's a part of it that might be holding on to comfortability instead of allowing it to take place. So there's a part of you that you're having a hard time bringing to the surface. Breathing to life is what I just heard. Giving yourself that opportunity to trust and believe in it, because it's a place you've never been. It's a place that's, you know, is I keep saying to everybody, it's foreign to start to truly, for us, it's foreign to truly start to get into, you know, out of our comfort zone and into everything that is us, where we're supposed to be, where we're taking our life, because society has always taught us, no, you have to accept this, no, you have to accept that, the world is that way. We're learning how to be more than that. And there's a part of you that might be not fully ready to accept or challenging or questioning within yourself. And what they're saying is just stop that shit. Just stop it, because it's there, it's ready, it's all good. I feel like I'm like, it's all good for you though. It's just believe in it. Now, what else? I got two other decks that are kind of speaking, so let me see what they have to say as you go through this month. And then we'll hit the astrology and I'll walk you through the rest of the month and as you approach the next month. What else does Scorpio need to hear to help them as they're moving forward right now? What else does Scorpio need to hear? They just keep giving me on that level, not the cards. Could you trust in your abilities? Trust in what you already are. Water is coming up. Water is healing, but water is also destructive. And this may be, you know, a destructive part of letting your dead to your dead. It's your subconscious coming into understanding the purification of who and what you are, allowing it to be, allowing you to be. You're getting a Hebrew letter, because this is one of my decks I created. So most people won't understand what this is. This is the Shin in Hebrew. And it's saying, rid your negative power. Get rid of the negative power that you have in you, because it's keeping you from fully coming into all the way around. It's saying, stop missing the mark by trying so hard. Stop ridding yourself of the guilt. The failure and the guilt is what is the, when I say guilt, I'm getting into that 12th house energy, grief, sorrow, shame, blame, insecurities, where you're doubting yourself. It is need of forgiveness and the pardon, you know, like when somebody's in jail and they've gotten pardoned and they're allowed to be released. They're saying give yourself the acceptance of whatever you might be holding on to, whatever might be keeping you from coming into your eternal flame, whatever you're afraid of, whatever your subconscious emotional waters are keeping you from believing in yourself. It's time to stop that. Stop putting yourself down. Start standing in your power. No more of that. We're going to put that stuff behind us. Plain and simple. I'm going to give the one last card, and I mean one last other deck, and then we're moving on to what I see in the astrology. Is there anything else here that Scorpio needs to hear as they finish out April and begin May? Scorpio. You're going to have to stop moving around so much. Scorpio, 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 Scorpio. Inner truth. Inner truth. Plain and simple. Your inner truth is your truth. It is penetrating the inner truth to open up to the truth. It is the wisdom of the heart, the insight and the clarity. It is the purity. It is the intuitive knowing of your own consciousness and penetrating the illusion. So it's just your subconscious becoming conscious and allowing it to happen. But like I said, you had in one of those cards, you had a grand cross, which is just meaning there's a message here that's not the most easiest or comfortable to overtake, to walk through, but That's why it's a lesson, guys. So it's a good thing. It's a place of spiritual growth. Now, as we get into your astrology, I like to start off where the sun is. Because, like I said, whether you're sun, moon, rising, I always tell you to check that information down below right there. Because if you're a sun, we're talking about your core energy. Sun Scorpio. If you're a moon Scorpio, we're talking about you walking through your emotional indifferences. And if you're a rising Scorpio, this has to do about the transformational change that's taking place in your three-dimensional world. All right. So it's the way of how we're viewing this. Now, the sun itself is walking through, from the Scorpio point of view, it is walking through that sixth house. And it's about to go into the seventh house, but depending on when you're born, it may technically still kind of reside in that sixth house until around the date of what your birthday would have been. So it may be a little bit further behind as far as the houses go. But the sign itself, no, it'll still be the same. Now, we're talking about Scorpio walking through that sixth house, which happens to be the daily mundane tasks. And I always say the most important things in our life are the mundane. It's just we overlook it, and that's why it's mundane. But there's nothing mundane about it. The people, places, and things, the activities, and whatnot that you do on a daily repetitive action is part of the biggest level of your manifestation. The people you talk to, the places you go, the things that you do. Now, Chiron is in this energy, but it's a further away from the rest of them. Mercury just walked over it over the last weekend. Now you have the sun in Pallas approaching it. And then they're going to be going into Taurus, which is your seventh house. So here's what I'm trying to get through to you. As the sun, Mercury, who already has, and Pallas leave that sixth house and go into your actual relationship zone, from what mindset are they walking into this relationship zone with? Because that's where the illumination is going to be taking place for the next month. And I say it that way because on the 19th is when the sun moves in to Taurus. So it's going to be like literally right after this full moon. And I'll come back to the full moon when I get to the house the full moon is in. Now, so the sun and Pallas is going to be crossing over. And if you've been watching any of my videos, you've already heard me say it. She's going to be crossing over the goddess Eris, which I tend to call Medusa. Trouble, toil, strife, injustice. So are you looking at your daily tasks, your daily mundane? You get up every day, you brush your teeth, you eat some breakfast, you head out the door, you go to work. What happens to you at work? What happens to you when you leave work? What is your mundane telling you? The people, places, and things of energy. What is it illuminating? Is it illuminating where you're holding on to jealousy, inadequacy, inferiority? Are you looking at where it might look like it's working easier for that person, but why are you having so much trouble? And I say it that way because that's where Spirit's directing me. And it's a part of the mundane. Grief, sorrow, shame, blame, insecurities. All this energy is overtopping, walking over Eris, which I call Medusa, trouble, toil, strife, and injustice. The sun illuminating your mundane. Are you looking at the negatives more than you're looking at the positives? Because when we go into the sun coming into the seventh house in Taurus, are we walking into the relationship zones from an already negative point of view, from an already lower vibrational energy of going, well, I got a chip on my shoulder, or, it hasn't worked out for me. And it's your fault, or it's that thing's fault, or whatnot? Or are we coming into a higher perspective? See, because Spirit is always telling me to look at Eris as Medusa, but to look at her from like that Amazon Prime commercial, and the fact of, yeah, so you got done ugly. Some shit has happened in your life. It happens to all of us. But are you, like in the commercial, she finds sunglasses, so Medusa no longer has to turn everybody into stone. She's not necessarily alone anymore. She's not, you know, left by herself and nothing but her own insecurities. So this is saying, in a form, she magically found a way to kind of give the gods a fuck you, and I learned how to call back my own power, and you didn't get to take it from me. I might be a saint, things might have changed, but I can still move on. So when we're going into these relationship zones, and you're taking the daily activity of your everyday activity, your mundane tasks, your people, places, and things, of the activities of your life, and how are they playing out? Are you taking it from a point of a chip on your shoulder, or are you bringing it in as, I've grown, I can see where this can be shifted, I can see where this can change, I'm calling back my power, and just because that happened in the past does not mean it's going to continue to be the same way. I now am in my power, so I'm going to shift it. This is a very powerful situation, because the seventh house for you is Taurus, which, for one, Taurus just wants heaven. Why can't I just freaking have heaven? Taurus is, I want the seductive energy. I want the satisfaction of the flirtation, but I also want to enjoy. But I'm very stubborn. I'm inflexible, and I do want it my way, and it should be this way. I mean, stubborn. I mean, Taurus energy is the bull. It can be bullheaded. It can be bullheaded for all the right reasons or the wrong reasons. So when you're looking at it in the relationship zone, this is your partnerships. It's your relationships with your loved ones. It's your relationships with your children, your parents, your work friends, anything you care about, you have a relationship with. I say it a million times. When you have no money, you know all about your relationship with the lack of the money, meaning you know about your relationship with your job. Any and everything you care about, you have a relationship with. So are you approaching these relationships in a healthy, I'm in my power, and this is what I am capable of shifting into, and this is what I am capable of, my part in it, and then looking at taking inventory and, well, what can we do with it from here? How can we adjust it in this way? Because this is saying, how can you show yourself in the independence of your relationships? Keep your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom, not get lost in the relationship and become, well, this is me and so, or I'm part of this group. No, bitch, I'm an individual, and you will see me as one. But what do you bring to the table? Where and what are you bringing to the table in these relationships that make you stand out? And are you allowing them to see the glorious person that is you, so that you don't lose your power in these relationships? This is really what all of this is about. Are you going to create a healthy cycle with these relationships by understanding exactly where your power is, what your power is, how to bring your power into fruition, show itself, and then be able to pat yourself on the back while you're still being able to be part of the relationship? You get where I'm going with that? I hope so, because that's what I'm seeing right when I look into this. So you also have Uranus here, which is still going to be here for several more months. You got Mercury here in your seventh house, which is saying it's all about the way you're going to communicate it. But if you can't communicate with yourself, your own value in these relationships, don't expect the outer world to see your value in them. Uranus is saying here also, if you can't be yourself in these relationships, then they'll never see you for what you are. So this is time to spiritually step up on the ladder and go, It's time to see me for what I am, for all my good and bad. And do you accept me or not? And if you accept me, then we can continue this relationship. If not, well, then peace out. Really, that's what I'm getting from this. And as you come into your 8th house, we have Ceres here. You have Ceres and Lilith here. Lilith is leaving the 8th house and going into the 9th. So let me talk about Ceres first. Ceres is not the Sirius star, Ceres. She is known as karma. She is known as what nurtures the situation or shows you where it's being neglected. So this is specifically speaking to you about in these relationships that you keep. Like I said, any and everything you care about, you have a relationship with. So in these relationships of your life that you keep, are you nurturing the rules, the walls, the boundaries of them? Are you nurturing what needs to shift to make it work for you, but not necessarily take it away from someone else, but make sure that it's not taking it away from you? Are you shifting how the relationship can actually grow, mature, and continue to expand? Or are you just standing there and continuing to stay with the way the rules, the walls, the boundaries have always been? It's not about being manipulative and conniving and trying to force the relationship in the direction for you, but it is about saying, if you don't nurture what you need from the relationship, then you are not going to get what you need from this relationship. So are you standing your ground properly? Or are you neglecting very important factors that make, bringing you all the way back to your people, places, and things, that make it work for you? Your mundane relationships and what is part of your life on a daily basis. Are you nurturing how to manipulate and shift it to work for you? Or are you neglecting it and it's going to actually start to work against you? Now, as Lilith comes out of this energy, she's moving into your 9th house. Now, on a universal level, Lilith is moving into the 4th house. Now, this is important that I'm explaining it to you this way because there's always more than one cycle going at a time. Technically, to see astrology the proper way and understand the cycles upon the cycles upon the cycles, you have to understand your sun is illuminating one cycle. Your moon is illuminating another cycle. Your ascending is illuminating another. Plus the universal, which is rolling at the same time, is illuminating another. So there's cycles upon cycles. Now, the energy itself is the same, but when we apply them to the acknowledgement of the different houses according to the cycles, and it deepens and broadens our aspects here and helps us to understand. This is why I'm explaining this so deep for you. So for you, Lilith is leaving the 8th house and moving into the 9th, because Mars is moving into Pisces on the 14th. You also have Lilith on the 14th, which is moving from Gemini to Cancer. So it's going to be moving into your 9th house, but on a universal level, it's moving into your 4th house. So this is saying, let's take the energy of both the 9th house and the 4th house, and let's marinate them together so that you truly have a better concept of what this means. Now, the 4th house is, let me pull my little notes over here so I can best explain it to you. The 4th house is our home. Not this. It is in a form, this, like your home, the foundation, but the vessel itself is the home of the soul. And you can't lose the vessel. You may move from one house to another. You may shift homes on a 3-dimensional, landscape. but the foundation, the roots and who and what you are already inside of you. Okay? And this is where you find your inner emotional security. Where the foundation of that inner emotional security is either very strong or rocky and falling apart. And Lilith is in a form, she could be very positive or negative, or she could go from positive into negative if you allow her to go too far. Because she is like the first feminist. She asks you what you're here for. What do you burn for? What is part of your soul that you're not acknowledging? Where's the inner emotional security of your soul not strapping in, getting on the roller coaster and being like, yes, I got this? Where are you afraid of that? What part of that are you afraid of? Because that's the inner emotional security that built the foundation of who and what you are. Now let's take that energy and let's place it in your ninth house. This doesn't just take it from a three-dimensional world. This takes it to both a three-dimensional and a spiritual vibrational frequency. Because the ninth house is your ethics, your morals, your philosophy, your religion, but it's your spiritual house. It's your psychic house. This is where your psychic activity is about to definitely bloom and come off the chain if your Lilith is in her independence and not in her submissive energy. Because she's standing firm in her fire. So I know you guys are water signs, but this is kind of like the temperance card. This is the water in the fire. This is an I Ching, also known as the revolution. Finding the revolutional shift within yourself. So this is a power of going from one spectrum to another, from one vibrational frequency to another, from one dimension to another, from one cycle to another, from one step to another. And are you really allowing all parts of your higher self, your spiritual and ethical soul, to tell you, you know what's right from wrong? You know who you are. You know your spiritual vibration. So are you tapping into it? Do you trust in it? Do you believe in it? It's the roots of who and what you are, no matter how many lifetimes you've been here. This is definitely a brand new beginning for you if you're allowing it to come into play. But it depends on if you're standing in that independence or submissive energy. That's a super powerful thing going on for you. I mean, and if you're doing your work, then I'm so proud of you. You don't have anything going on in Leo. You don't have anything going on in Virgo. But here is where you have the full moon on the 16th. The 16th, the full moon, not just is a full moon in the universal 7th house, but for you, it's your 12th house. But it's actually in a void, of course, of the 12th house and the 1st house. So we're talking about a cycle shift. An end of a cycle, a beginning of a cycle. If you're willing to take on the responsibility of allowing that to happen. Not to mention that full moon in your 12th house, like I said, is leaving the 12th and going into the 1st for you directly. On a universal scale, is going from the 7th to the 8th, shifting those rules, walls, and boundaries, making sure you're standing in that power of the relationships and showing who you are, your authenticity. But the full moon itself is going to be crossing Haumea. And Haumea is one of those planets that nobody talks about. Haumea is the collective consciousness. That's what its energy is. It actually speaks to you about where are you in the collective consciousness. Are you facing the truth with consciousness? Or are you being subconscious in your inner blindness here? Are you illuminating all of your inner truths? And are you coming into a brand new place of being? This is a very powerful sign. So, like I said, it said Lilith in your cards with a new moon, but it's actually taking place on a full moon of full circle. Regeneration of full circle. I mean, this is an incredibly powerful time for you. I mean, it should be a magical time, but it is definitely going to be an eye-opening and emotional sensitive time to walk through this energy. Not to mention, in your first house, you have the South Node, which means there's parts of your personality, parts of your character, parts of the world, and how you've always identified with the world around you, viewed the world, as well as how you assume the world views you. The South Node is saying there's growth that needs to take place here, but you may be comfortable in your uncomfortability and not ready to grow. That's 12th house energy again. Grief, sorrow, shame, blame, insecurity. 12th house energy is our own self-deception, our inner blindness, our inner undoing, where we tell ourselves that it's okay when we know damn well it's not. I had this conversation with somebody the other day, and this is what's popping up in my head right now, is we tell ourselves little white lies. We tell ourselves little white lies and we get ourselves involved in. You know what? That's acceptable. It's not that big of a deal. And maybe it wasn't. But when we do these things enough, something that's really tiny started to tell us that, it's okay. It's okay to spiritually put yourself down that little bit. It's okay to, give somebody that much extra weight, that much extra space when really they don't deserve it, or why are you standing up and giving them the extra credit when it was yours? This isn't about being jealous or feeling the inadequacy, but this is about going, stop giving the power away little bits by little bits, and then wondering all of a sudden why you have no power or where you lost it. Because it starts off with a little move, then eventually you tell yourself, no, that's acceptable. And before you know it, perfect example, I was having a conversation with somebody and I was like, like it, it was a police situation, like that's my job, I'm doing my job. And before they know it, it's gone from I'm doing my job and being a good person in society and trying to do this and this and this, to where now they've taken it so far that they're like beating someone to death, especially like an elderly person. Nah, it's not your job. And this is what I'm talking about. Where is your inner character allowed it to be okay? I can transform. I can allow that to take place. I don't have to. And before you know it, the transformation is you lost yourself. This is calling your power back. This is not allowing. It's not that you guys are pushovers, but where have you allowed certain parts of your character to go into denial, hidden underneath the carpet, and it's time to go, no, there's a reason why it's part of your character. There's a reason why you have the fire in you that you do, and the emotional ability to flow through it like so with water energy. So are you allowing yourself to come to learn this? That is a lot of what your South Node message is right here for the whole year. Now, as you come into, I'm trying to pull the thing up. Your second house, there's nothing there. Your third house, you still have Pluto here, and Pluto is getting at the end of its time, which is saying you really have to start trusting in this communication. You have to start talking to yourself in a healthier way, as well as the world around you, allowing not just a healthier, but are you listening or are you talking? Or are you only listening but not talking? Something in this communication is saying, we're trying to grow. as far as how you speak to yourself and the world around you. Because when you get into your fourth house, bringing us right back to our inner emotional security, you still have Saturn here. You still, oh, not to mention, I'm sorry. Well, I'll get to there in a minute. You have Saturn here in your fourth house. This is again going right back to setting the rules, the walls, the boundaries, to coming back into your spiritual truth, to trusting in yourself, setting the foundation for how you believe in yourself, your roots of who you are, your inner emotional security. You have Vista here asking you to believe in it, because the keys to everything you need is by believing in yourself and allowing yourself to know that it's able to flow. But as you move into that fifth house, into your inner creativity, that's where the holdup gets, where the confusion, where like the clock gets jammed, because you have right now you have Mars here, Venus here, Jupiter, and Neptune here in your fifth house, your inner creativity, your inner trust in yourself, your inner pursuit of pleasure. Are you enjoying your life? Are you putting your enjoyment in? Are you putting time into enjoying the things you want to enjoy? Or are you having no choice but to, I got to work and I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to do this? And before you know it, you're so tired that you haven't had any time for yourself. Jupiter and Neptune here is bringing abundance to your creative zone, your creative expression, your fun zone. Are you being able to let your inner child out to play? Or are you still trying to hide her and protect her or him? Because it's also that 12th house, grief, sorrow, shame, blame, and insecurity. So there's a part of your inner child already here, because that's who and what you are as a Scorpio. There's part of the inner child that has already got some health, emotional damage issues. I'm sorry. But if it's the universal 12th house on your fifth, this means there's a part of your creative expression, a part of your inner child that has a problem allowing themselves to be seen, allowing themselves to be known, that stays a little bit more in the shadows. And this is part of your main lesson in life. Come out of the damn shadows. We need you to show the expression that only you can teach us. But you've got to believe in that. It's your pursuit of pleasure. It's your pursuit of fun. It's what makes you tick and makes you want to be here. Are you experiencing it? And you're able to flourish in that, as well as show others that how important that is. It's a big part of your lesson overall in your life. But right now, you have so much energy hitting you, asking you, where's your fire? Where's your inner child? Because the inner child helps you create. The inner child helps you believe. The inner child helps you use that self-expression to show us how wonderful the world can be. And are you seeing that? Or is it still afraid and hidden in the shadows? If you're bringing it full circle, you're going to be coming into a new level of who you are. I love you guys. Bye.